As you can see by the title, we have a lot to get through today. This video is what it seems. I've done this with many other brands already. I'm going to link a playlist somewhere if you want to check that out. We haven't done the House of Roja Parfum yet. Now, I've ranked my Roja Parfum fragrances in the past, but I've never ranked my entire collection all at once, and I have some that I didn't have in the past videos I've done. So this is a video I've been putting off a bit just because of how much it would take to actually rank 27 Roja Parfum fragrances.
Okay, this is a little confusing, but you're actually going to see like 29 different Roja Parfum bottles on the screen throughout this video, and I've arranged them to only take up 26 spots. I know it sounds weird. It'll make sense as we go, so it's not 27. If you hear me say 27 again, it's just because I'm dumb. Let's move on.
And I know there's a lot of you guys that would be wondering, Justin, did you buy 27 Roja Parfum fragrances? That's so much money. And you're right. That's a whole lot of money that I did not spend, and I do not recommend that you spend the type of money that you're going to see flashed up here on the camera. All the fragrances here were sent to me by the brand over the course of the last, 8 years or so. Very slowly, very spread out. They've been very generous to me, but honestly, it hasn't stopped me from being real with my thoughts. I don't have all the greatest things to say about some of these fragrances, but there's some of them that I really love, and you'll see those near the top of the list, and the middle will be filled with all kinds of fun twists and turns along the way. I'm going to link to all of these fragrances as best I can down in the description. So with all that out the way, here's my raw and unfiltered ranking of all my Roja Parfum fragrances from worst to best. Here at the bottom, this is one of their newer releases. This is probably the last fragrance they've sent to me, and maybe because I didn't say great things about it, I haven't heard from them in a little while. Aoud Extraordinaire. I did a first impressions video on this one when it came out. I don't like it. And it's not because it doesn't smell good. It smells really nice. It leans on the feminine side. It's kind of floral, fruity. There's this cotton candy feel. I get almost no oud, but it just doesn't smell like a Roja. And honestly, I can kind of say that for most of the recent releases I've tried from the brand, those that have come out within the last year or two. There's a change in the touch. I know that they've kind of changed hands as far as perfumers go, and it shows. This does not represent the brand as I've known it for the entire time I've been in fragrances. So for that reason, I don't really like it. It doesn't really belong in the house if you're asking me. That's just if you're asking me. But overall, it's a nice scent. It's fine. Aoud Extraordinaire. Similar thoughts on this next one. Again, a newer release called Isola Sol. It is a flanker or a follow-up to Isola Blue, which I used to have, and I'll explain why I don't have that a little later in the video. This one is just kind of a slightly beachy, coconutty, like solar, floral, fruity fragrance that reminds me of like Tom Ford's Soleil Blanc or something like that. Again, weird that it's in a Roja bottle. Does not smell like a Roja Parfum to me. Doesn't smell bad. I don't turn my nose up to it. There's nothing stinky about it. Nothing unpleasant about it. Very pleasant. Just unremarkable if you're asking me. Isola Sol. But I'd love to know what you think. Let's keep it moving here. This fragrance is technically a new-ish release that came out maybe 2-3 years ago, but it's also not a very new release, and that's why it is here down near the bottom. It's kind of a re-release, but it also smells very similar to another fragrance that they already had, and this weird crossover happens sometimes. Anyway, this is called Taif Aoud. It is based on Taif rose. There's aldehydes. It's kind of clean, fresh, rosy, floral, this posh, powdery vibe. It's really nice. There's oud in here. It's a great fragrance. It's just very redundant and kind of comes off cash grabby to me. I do believe it was formerly some kind of exclusive to a particular store, and then they've since brought it into the main collection. So that's okay, but it in and of itself is, again, redundant to another fragrance that they already did, and you'll see that later on because I like it more than this one. Anyway, that's Taif Aoud. It's good. It's just, we don't need it. The next few fragrances here are phenomenal scents. They actually do represent the house very well. They represent the aesthetic of this brand, if you're asking me. However, they just don't fit all that well in my rotation. I don't get a ton of wear out of them. They're not the most versatile fragrances. They're very situational and even borderline polarizing, but I like them. I just don't always have a time and place to wear them. First one up is Fetish. I don't even think you can get this one anymore. I really appreciate this. It is a fairly animalic sheep. There's this dusty, dry, animalic woodiness. It's a little bit tough on the nose, especially up close. Very mossy, woody, spicy, edgy, masculine, very confident. The few times I've worn this, I've enjoyed it. Just a couple of sprays and it's been nice, but just the few times I've worn it. Again, I barely reach for this thing, but I do like it. Same goes for this one. Definitely easier on the nose than Fetish, but still pretty particular. This is Sweet Tea Aoud. It's beautiful. It really does kind of smell the way people describe it. It has this like baked good feeling to it, almost like warm, sweet dessert in a bakery. There's almost this breadiness to it, but it is primarily an oud rose fragrance. It is woody. There is definitely a floral aspect. There's a fruity aspect, but overall, I don't think describing it as a rose oud does it justice. It's so elegant and it's so particular. So again, don't wear it that much. This fragrance is captivating. I didn't always love it. I really like it now, but as you can see, it's not one of my absolute favorites as far as a functional wear, but man, I'm gonna have this bottle forever. It's just a stunning composition. It's so well done and it's too good to not appreciate, even if I don't wear it all that much. Diaghilev, man. Yeah, this is also a sheep, a little bit of an animalic vibe, but way less so than Fetish. This is more of a fruity floral sheep with animalic touches. Lots of moss, but there's like peach and other juicy fruitiness in the florals, and there's something opulent about it. There's something kind of soft and sensitive about it, all while having this dry, woody backbone that's very confident, very statement making, very standout. I do wear this a little bit more than the last two that I mentioned, but still not as much as some of the others, but it's lovely. Diaghilev, total classic. From their Gulf collection, I have 3 fragrances in this collection, and this is the first of the 3 we'll be talking about. This is Qatar, and Qatar is kind of an interesting and unique rose oud. All of them are rose oud fragrances, but this one is like cotton candy rose oud. Way more interesting and way more complex than Aoud Extraordinaire, which is also cotton candy based. But this one, I just don't care for it quite as much. It's a little bit too sweet for me at times. There's times when I take off the cap and I sniff it and I'm like, I would totally wear this, but that's rarely. I'm rarely in the mood for something quite this sweet. That's Qatar. Let me know what you think if you've tried it. I have no idea what number on, but we're going to keep it moving because we got a lot to get through. Next is what could be a special edition fragrance. I don't know if it's still available. It's called Goodman's. They made it for Bergdorf Goodman. And this is kind of your classic citrus aromatic woody fragrance with touches of animalics. Heavy on some of the florals like neroli, so there's more of a cleanliness to it. There's a lot more woodiness from vetiver, and it's still pretty citrusy and bright and herbal. A relatively complex kind of old school personality. It's not really special to me, but it's done really well. That is Goodman's. Some of you guys might be a little bit appalled to see this so low, but it's just not my favorite profile on my skin. I like it, but it doesn't capture me in the way that I hope it would every time I wear it, but it's really good. And I know why people love it. This is Creation E. I only have the Parfum Cologne version. I don't have the original Parfum version. It's lovely and it's unique and it's special. Kind of like this whiskey Coke feel, almost like cognac, Coca-Cola, kind of this effervescent bubbliness to it. There is some benzoin in here, quite a bit of benzoin, which actually characterizes the scent. It's almost like this sparkling resinous vanilla. For some reason on my skin, as it dries down, it just goes a little flat for me, at least the Parfum Cologne version. My wife doesn't absolutely love it when I wear it. She finds it pretty elegant, but she just likes others more. She doesn't dislike it. And neither do I. I just like some of the others more. That's why it's down this low. That's Creation E. Parfum Cologne. Now, we referenced this fragrance when we were talking about Taif Aoud. This smells like Taif Aoud to me, and this came out before it, so I don't know what's going on here, but I like this more. This is called United Arab Emirates, also from the Gulf collection. This fragrance is again like Taif Aoud, but way toned down on the kind of aldehydic freshness. It's not quite as clean and laundry-like. It's a little bit spicier, a little bit more edgy. The oud and the rose here is just so beautifully done, and it just sings in the middle of these warm, spicy cloves. Lots going on in here. I find it incredibly elegant. This is one of my wife's favorite Roja Parfum fragrances on my skin when I wear it, especially for the fall and the winter. Anyway, that is UAE. Let me know what you think. This next fragrance is my final Gulf collection fragrance. I don't necessarily like the smell of it more than UAE, but it is a little bit more functional, so I wear it just a little bit more. So I had to place it a touch higher. This is called Sultanate of Oman. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's what I know it to be called. And this is a little bit fresher. There's this kind of fresh, more citrusy brightness to this fragrance while still being a pretty substantial oud rose, maybe a little bit more herbal, more woody, maybe a touch of sweetness, but it's very much in the heart of the fragrance. It doesn't really characterize the overall personality. It's not a sweet oud rose. It's more fresh, spicy, aromatic, woody oud rose. Really well done. Very fun to wear, especially for the fall and spring during the daytime. Let me know what you think of Sultanate of Oman, or Sultanate of Oman, however the heck they say it. All right, another classic from the house. This one is known to resemble another fragrance from Guerlain, which we'll see honestly some other crossover to Guerlain. I think, as I know it, Roja did work for Guerlain in his earlier career and got a lot of inspiration from the Guerlain aesthetic. So he took some of that into his own hands and did it his own way. And this is a representation of that. This is Vetiver Parfum Cologne, very similar to Guerlain Vetiver. Now the original version is, I believe, an EDP or a Parfum. I don't have that one. I've never actually tried it. I've only ever tried the Parfum Cologne, and I really like it. As far as a Vetiver goes, that has substance to it, that really features the note in an authentic way, but it is still very wearable. This is a great one to consider. If you like Tom Ford Grey Vetiver, and we put that kind of like a little bit to the left of middle as far as the spectrum of least intense vetiver to most intense vetiver, this is just a hair over the middle, if you're asking me. The vetiver here is a little bit more smoky than you will find in the mainstream market, but it's so bright with the citruses like lemon and bergamot, mouth-wateringly bright, smoky and woody, green, really masculine, really refined, beautiful stuff when you want to have more of a sophisticated vibe during the daytime. That is Vetiver Parfum Cologne. Now this stuff kind of got pooped on when it came out, and I think the primary reason is, I'm pretty sure about this, even though people might disagree with me, the reason why this got pooped on is because of its performance. If it was a little stronger, people would have overlooked the fact that the scent as a flanker, as a follow-up to a very popular fragrance, wasn't just a fade in the background kind of mainstream basic scent profile. Now, honestly, I don't consider this to be a basic mainstream scent profile. I find it to be more niche, so to speak, than its predecessor. But again, still got pooped on because it's not that strong. This is Elysium Eau Intense. I like this stuff, especially on a hot day. No, you're not going to smell it for more than like 6-7 hours, but man, the time you will smell it, it's refreshing. It does take the original Elysium and it makes it a little bit weirder, honestly. Rhubarb. The rhubarb note really makes this stand out as something a little different, a little off the beaten path, pretty sharp, kind of bitter, very tart, but a little bit fruity all at the same time. And there's this cold feeling, kind of like the bottle looks, icy cold quality to the otherwise Elysium DNA. It's perfectly tied to it. It does take it in a different direction, which I think a flanker should, but maybe it's not remarkable. Elysium Eau Intense. I'll link to a decant if I can find one down below. Now, to be honest with you, this is probably one of the most unique fragrances that Roja Parfum has ever produced, if you're asking me. The reason why it's not at the top of the list is because I don't wear it all that much. I definitely could wear it more. I definitely should wear it more. And maybe after saying both of those statements, I probably will wear it more. This is a Midsummer Dream. This is a beautiful take on the sheep. It's a little bit more on the light side of things. There is this softness to it. There's almost a soft floral quality. It's kind of resinous from elemi resin, which brings a slightly fresher, more piney, slightly sweet resinous nuance to it. There is a bed of oak moss. There's some woods. It's such a gentle scent profile while still being masculine, while still being put together. This is something you wear fall, spring, maybe summer nights when you want to have just this gentlemanly vibe to you that smells like absolutely nothing else. Such a special scent profile. If you're looking for something that stands out from the rest of the market, this is probably the highest recommendation I can give you. Doesn't mean it's going to be the most wearable and most practical for you, as it isn't for me either, but it's at least worth a sample. That is a Midsummer Dream. I like this fragrance quite a bit. I've gotten some good wear out of it. It's a fun fragrance for the summertime, kind of a different take on this type of fragrance, but sometimes I'm not in the mood for it. Because of the way it can behave on my skin around me, I've had some not so pleasant experiences. This is Oceania. Beautiful scent, so well done. Does not actually have this overtly aquatic or ocean water type of character to it. It's more like ocean air. There's a cooling, clean, kind of fresh, watery air under the sun. Beautiful day, perfect weather, perfect breeze, some citruses that pop here. There's also a lot of florals. I think the florals really contribute to its freshness, but I have oversprayed this before by 1 or 2 sprays, and it was too powdery for me. It just got kind of weird in the heat, at least for me and my taste. So that's why it's a little bit lower. Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful, fresher offering from the house that you can wear when you want something more casual, but something that's not just a throwaway. It is special. It does have a nice personality to it. Easy recommendation for that. That is Oceania. This next fragrance has slowly crept up the ranks over the last couple years. I really do like this stuff. Honestly, my wife wears it a little bit more than me, but it's perfectly unisex. I feel just fine wearing it, just for whatever reason. She always sees it first, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna wear it too, because she's already wearing it. So I need to make more efforts to wear it, but I did wear it, I don't know, within the last few weeks and really enjoyed it. This is Manhattan, the EDP. There was a Parfum version that came out before this. It was a limited edition. They sold it out, and I think it did so well they decided to bring it back, but for some reason as an EDP. Whatever, still smells great. It is this airy, kind of dry, sweet, earthy vanilla. There's a tobacco feel in here that's very light. Again, more on the dry, earthy side. It just adds this delicate texture to a not too sweet vanilla. It's not super creamy and super gourmand. It's a lovely scent for the fall and winter and spring. It's just a great evening fragrance that wears a little bit more casually to slightly more dressed up, but not the most formal. Really pleasant. Very, very likable. That is Manhattan EDP. I'm actually going to present these next 2 fragrances together because they're virtually the same. I like them about the same as well because they smell kind of the same. This is Danger. The Danger collection, we got the Parfum and we got the Parfum Cologne. As you guys know, the Parfum Cologne is generally a little bit cheaper. You technically get a lesser concentration and all that, but you know, it's all about the scent. How does it smell to you? Danger as a DNA is this kind of ambery fougere. There is a clean lavender barbershop quality to it, but it's warm, it's sweet. There's vanilla, there's amber, there's maybe some animalics in there, some spices. It's less of a warm weather fougere, a little bit more cool to moderate weather fougere. All the Parfum Cologne version does to the original DNA is it brightens up the top, maybe makes it a little bit more transparent, more of like a lemony pop when you spray it on. That's just fresher, that's just maybe more inviting. Definitely a little bit better for the heat, but not a hot weather fragrance by any means. Really classy stuff. That's probably the best word I could use to describe Danger in its entirety. Let me know what you think. Up next is probably one of my absolute favorite cool weather fragrances from Roja Parfums, especially from some of their more classic releases. This one came out, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe more than that. I don't remember at this point, but gosh, this stuff is so good. It captures me for some reason. This is called Reckless Pour Homme. Reckless Pour Homme, man, spicy, woody, slightly sweet, almost a little bit resinous, but I get a lot of bay leaf. I get a lot of cypress, very hearty woodiness, spiciness, a little bit of a freshness in there, very masculine, very evening time, put together, take you seriously, mature. It just fits the vibe that I want to have in the occasions that it's appropriate for. I love it for the fall and winter. Man, so good. Let me know what you think of Reckless if you've tried it. I'm going to do the same thing with this as I did with Danger. We have Scandal. Now, the first one I actually tried was Scandal, the Parfum version, years ago in a perfumery, and I hated it. It smelled like an old man to me. It was too stuffy. I came around to the Parfum Cologne version maybe a year later and loved it. Love it for a sniff. I've raved about this on my channel for years and years, so I knew I had to come back to the Parfum because I got into this one. It warmed my heart. It just prepared me to really love the original version. Both are great. They're both very similar. You don't need both. This is a classic fougere, more of a classic aromatic barbershop type of fougere. Citruses, lavenders, spices and herbs and woods, a little lemony, maybe a little creamy as it dries on the skin. Definitely smells along the lines of something like Eau Sauvage, once again from Dior, maybe even more than the Bergdorf, but way more complex than Eau Sauvage. I actually prefer this DNA. If you turned Eau Sauvage into an aromatic fougere, this is kind of what it would be. Anyway, let me know what you think of the Scandal DNA. So masculine, very attractive. We are in the final stretch. This is one of those fragrances that is very special to me. First of all, because it was the first Roja Parfum fragrance I've ever had. This very bottle is the first Roja Parfum fragrance I ever had. It was sent to me by the brand in 2017, which I believe is when it came out. And I got a lot of wear out of it for years and years after that. It's been a top contender for my most worn fragrances for several years, but not so much in the past handful of years. And honestly, it kind of faded to the background for me. It got very overplayed. It got super hyped. And I kind of stopped talking about it and I stopped wearing it. But just within the last month or so, I've pulled this out twice, one time including today. It's my scent of the day, and honestly, if I hadn't have worn this today, it probably wouldn't be this high on the list. It was really today's wearing that sealed it. This is the original Elysium. I don't really have much to say about it. You know what this is, you've smelled it. There's a bunch of clones of it at this point. This is my vintage bottle of Elysium. It's almost 10 years old, which is so hard to believe. And it's kind of grown with me as I've gone through this channel, building this channel. I enjoy it. I'm glad to come back around to it. I don't know if I could say the scent has changed or it's gotten more beefy, but it does feel a little bit more present than I remember it being in the past. It's great. I'm not going to say anything else about it because you know Elysium. Let's move on. These next two fragrances were love at first sniff. The first one was the EDP. I did a whole first wearing video where I wore it out into the world and reported back on my experience and all that. And I was just really thrilled with this fragrance. And that was Apex, the EDP version. But things got weird when like 6 months later, they dropped the Parfum, which is so head scratching. And that really threw me off. And I'm like, guys, really? What? You couldn't wait? Anyway, we got Apex, EDP, and Parfum. I always say I actually prefer the Parfum a little bit more, but I recommend the EDP because they're so similar. This one's a little cheaper. You get more in the bottle, so some would say the value's better, even though some would also say the performance is a little bit less than the Parfum. And that's kind of true. I do get a slight bit more longevity out of this one, but just a little bit. They ultimately have a very similar presence, maybe this one being a little bit less fresh, but this DNA is so good. It's a little bit throwback. It's very green. It's a green, woody, resinous fragrance. There's some boozy touches. There's fruity touches. There's this mossiness as it dries. It just gets a little bit leathery and animalic. It's such a complex scent profile that is so interesting, that it's so fun to wear. It's so refined, maybe a little bit mature, just a touch, but still very modern if you're asking me. Kind of a modern take on your classic like 1970s, 80s green masculine fragrance. That is Apex. Let me know which one you like more if you've tried them both, or if you like this DNA in general. We are about done here. I'm going to present the next two fragrances as one, and we're doing Oligarch. Some of you guys who know the channel would be a little bit surprised to see like, well, how is this not number one? Well, it's damn near number one, so nothing to be mad at with that. The EDP of Oligarch I tried first from a travel atomizer. Fell in love with that fragrance. First spray, just smitten, just taken away. I got a lot of wear out of that travel atomizer. I ended up gifting that to a friend, and then not long after that, the brand gifted me with this bottle, which I've gotten a lot of wear out over the last few years. And then came the Parfum version, which ultimately replaced the EDP. They replaced all of their EDPs with Parfums around this time. And then Oligarch was pulled all together. Due to the war between Ukraine and Russia, they wanted to be sensitive to using the term oligarch. So they pulled the fragrance, and they took a couple years maybe to rework it, to remarket it, and then they came out with Isola Blue, which they did send to me, and I actually don't have it anymore. I ended up with 2 bottles of that from the brand. I ended up gifting both of them to friends and family. And I'm left with Oligarch because Isola Blue is really good. It's the best interpretation of this classic, phenomenal, foundational DNA, but it's not exactly what Oligarch was. It is tied to the Parfum version. That's the closest one that I would compare it to. This citrusy, woody fruit. I mean, there's so much going on with Oligarch. It's just this masculine, citrusy, aromatic, slightly fruity, very versatile, but very complex and attractive. And just, it checks every box for me, but it's missing something. Isola Blue, it's missing some kind of magic, just a little bit, but overall it's the scent. So I would recommend trying Isola Blue if you never had a chance to try Oligarch back when it was available, but for me it just doesn't live up. That's why I don't have it anymore. Anyway, that is Oligarch, still one of my absolute favorite DNAs in my collection. And people say it smells like Terre d'Hermès. It's funny. To me, it doesn't smell like Terre d'Hermès when I wear it. I'm not reminded of the intense, spicy, woody vetiver that I get out of Terre d'Hermès. But funnily enough, whenever I wear Terre d'Hermès, my wife asks me if I'm wearing Oligarch. So maybe there's something to it, but to my nose, I don't get the comparison. So we're at number one. What is number one? What could this be? Some of you guys already know. Some of you guys might have an idea. Some of you guys might be hoping that number one is what it is. And if you are hoping that it is what it is, then you're probably really going to be happy when I tell you what it is. It's Burlington. It's Burlington 1819. This is my favorite Roja Parfum fragrance in my collection right now, based on scent and based on function. I can get a lot of wear out of this. I've gotten some good wear out of it over the years. It came out in 2020 and it just smells fantastic to me. As far as an aromatic citrusy fragrance, man, it just really stands out. It has this kind of dripping booziness to it. I don't remember if there's actually a boozy note in here, but I get some kind of like fresh, slightly sweet booziness, maybe some resins behind it. Gets a little ambery on the skin. There's a lot of grapefruit here, very mouth-watering, very authentic. It's just great for warm weather, day or night, when you want to have a more sophisticated and standout vibe that's not hard to understand. I could sing the praises of Burlington for years to come. I am so grateful to have this bottle, and I'm so grateful that I think they're still producing it. I really hope so. I didn't check before the video, and if they are, then I would recommend you check this out before they do something silly and pull this fragrance. Burlington is one of the best fragrances they've ever produced. I know a lot of you guys would agree with that. Some of you guys wouldn't. One thing to watch out for if you haven't tried this, there's a lot of cumin in here. Cumin is kind of the deciding factor for a lot of people as to whether they're gonna enjoy it or not. It's a pretty standout cumin note. It's a little bit dry and stuffy. Some people call it BO-ish. To me, it just totally complements the composition and gives it a lot of depth, but you have been warned. I'm just letting you know, cumin might make you not like this one. But that's my top from all my Rajas. Those are all my Rajas. That's a lot of Raja. We're gonna have links down below.